I would basically take you through what we mean by SDG, and also then take you why it is important for you to consider the SDGs. And UNDP is the integrator for all the SDGs. We do not work only on a single SDG. Our sister concerns like the UNICEF works on education, it works on health, while health is also looked by WHO, that is World Health Organization, or UNFPA, which is a population agency. So there are multiple agencies or giving a focus insight on various SDGs, while UNDP supports most of the countries in actually monitoring, envisioning, and also thinking through which are the stakeholders we are leaving behind. Now, to take an example, I'll just before we go, UNDP is working with the Orissa startup or the OHub to actually map out where the startups are following in the 17 goals, so that we know which ecosystem or which goal is not being focused by these startups. It's just a small beginning, but that really helps. So I will just take you through the whole SDG activities. Before we actually think about SDG, we need the sustainable development. We need to understand what do we mean by the sustainable development, because we are all working towards development. Let's say one of the biggest flagship program is the infrastructure development, and in that we have roads and bridges. But are we actually creating that road and bridges in such a way that it is not compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs? Because if you have a, you must have recently read through what is happening in Joshimath. So we have done development there. The whole Char Dham areas are all being beautified. Roads are being constructed. Everything is done. But why all of a sudden we are facing that? So somewhere that sustainability of that particular area, be it in terms of the footfalls which is happening, the automobile which is going, the stabilization of the earth masses which needed, somewhere we have missed that bus. So that is why we are seeing this type of damages. So the sustainable development means that the development which supports today, but also takes care of our future generation. Earlier, the houses or the temples, if you look at, or the masjids or the churches you look at, they lasted for hundreds of years. But somewhere our houses are falling apart after a couple of a decade or two or three. Why? Somewhere that sustainability aspect is missing. So this whole idea started, way back in 2000, when we said the whole world cannot progress if we do not work towards a collective goal. So the first was the Millennium Development Goals, and that only linked, to poverty eradication, achieving universal primary education, gender equity, reducing child mortality, health, improving the maternal health, combating HIV, AIDS, malaria, and some of the other communicable diseases, ensuring environmental sustainability and global partnership for development. These 8 goals were basically for the developed countries. They were going to support the developing or the least developed countries and achieve this goal. But when in 2014-15, when the assessment was done, it was realized that somewhere we have missed the buck. We have not progressed as much as we had to do it. And why that was there, I'll just take you to the next slide. Because it was a developing country focus, the developed countries had to support the developing countries. So the developed countries did not take care of, the use of petroleum. The consumption patterns were increasing day by day. They were not taking care of, while they were telling us to solarize or use renewable energy, they were not looking at it. So somewhere they were creating the greenhouse emissions as more and more. So this time the SDGs took into the universalization of the whole thing. So all 191 countries came together. The MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, were just focusing on social aspects. But it was realized that social aspects cannot be taken care if you do not have economic and environmental concerns. Now, what does it mean? If I do not have the means to achieve, generate income for myself, how can I take food or right kind of food? Then my social needs, which has been emphasized, no hunger, I cannot do it. Now the government can only give to a certain level of people, but after that, what? Now environmental concerns also, while we are taking care of, let's take an example of COVID. Now COVID was something is also, now there are many theories which says it's an environmental generated, it is lab generated, whatever the concern. If we are not taking care of the environment and we are cutting down the trees, does it help my social needs? Because there are a lot of NTFPI, non-forest timber produced, which actually help in reducing poverty. It helps in the basic need, like say house construction or anything. So I need to take care of, and then if I don't take care of environment, then my social, the socially communicable diseases also increases. Malaria incidences were increasing because of me not being able to take care of the pollution which is being created. The whole MDGs were dependent on the foreign aid, while SDGs are dependent on both domestic, private, corporates, and foreign aid, including. MDGs were being managed basically by, the official data and the administrative data which we are getting. But now everybody is saying we cannot have that because the government has a certain limitation to data. So you have to have data which is generated by big data systems, citizen generated. You can do surveys. You can also look at the, satellite imageries and see what type of data is being projected. To give you an example, when you look at the Turkey earthquake, the data which has been created at the ground level needs a lot of ground truthing. We will not be able to go to each and every place. But when you look at it from the satellite level, immediately you are able to use that and see what type of decisions I can take it. So what these SDGs is basically doing. So now these SDGs, what these SDGs are there? There are 17 SDGs. Now these 17 SDGs are interconnected, universal, and exponentially in nature. They are the blueprint to achieve better and more sustainable future for all. We have to take an integrated approach. So we have 17 goals decided in 2015, and on 1st January, it was accepted by all the countries. We have 169 targets, and globally we have 232 indicators which is being monitored by all for countrywide. Now, each of the country is also now looking at what is the targets I will look at, what are the indicators which I will take up, and maybe I will add on more targets. Niti Aayog has done it for the whole of the country, on which basis they will monitor the 30 states and 5 union territories, while 7 union territories, 28 states and 7 union territories. And each of the states will have their own indicators as linked to the national indicators, and also have district indicators. So and Ministry of Panchayati Raj have what they have done. They have taken these 17 goals and actually created about 9 thematic areas, because many of us will not be able to understand the global terminologies. So to ensure that they are aligned to local people's terminologies and understanding, they have created 9 thematic areas using these 17 goals, and they are now coming up with the district indicators and the GP level indicators, so that the localization happens. We haven't really much progress in terms of how the industries are going to be monitored and everything, but that's all work in progress. So what are these indicators, and how do they actually contribute to the main philosophy of 5 Ps? Sustainable development is about people, prosperity, people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So within that, what do people have to? People need is end to poverty and hunger in all forms, which means that you look at from goal 1 to 6, which is no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equity, water and sanitation. Then you have planet. What do we look at? Let's say prosperity. Prosperity, what we do have? We have 7 to 11. It says affordable and clean energy. Now it can be renewable, it can be wind, solar, or anything which is affordable and is clean, because coal is being thought of not being clean. Then decent, decent work and economic growth. Then we have industry, innovation and infrastructure, as Saurabh had just mentioned, and reduce inequalities and sustainable cities and communities, because COVID has really shown us how unequal we are. Despite all our progress made as development partners, we still are not very, very equal in our thing. Planet is basically 12 to 15, which talk about responsible consumption and production. If you look at any of the Indian big fat weddings, the amount of food which is wasted. Look at any of the FCI go downs or the places, you see wastage. When we look at, the dump yards, the municipal dump yards, you see what type of waste material is coming. That's very important. Climate action is important because as the climate change is happening, we will face a lot more disastrous event, which is very, very important to be looked at. Life underwater, the fish catch, the weeds, everything is very, very important. And similarly, the life land. The partnership, of course, we need to bring in all partners together. So we need to talk about. Peace is very, very important, because if you look at the Ukraine conflict, what is it creating? It's creating such a lot of pollution. It has reduced the economic growth to doubles. The people are not working, are able to get food, clothing, shelter. The health systems is broken. Education, I think many of the at least a couple of generations, they would go back because their infrastructure is broken down. Gender equity, of course, because if women are left alone, or men are left differentially abled, then where is the gender equity situation? It's so important for us to all understand. So peace is very, very important. Even if you look at the conflicts in the African countries, what type of, or look at it, what is happening to Afghanistan right next to our, or even Sri Lanka when they had civil unrest. So this is how the whole 5 P's, these are our crux. We need to think about them together for sustainable development. And these are the 17 goals where we need to, focus on. Now let's come to our main topic. What do we mean by entrepreneurship? It's an ability and readiness to develop and organize and run a business enterprise within the given uncertainties to make a profit. But if the enterprise is not sustainable in terms of, how would you say, if it creates its work environment is not gender equitable. If let's say it consumes more than electricity than it should, because it can cut down, or it overuses paper, it's not a digital, then you have certain, or it is an industry which creates water pollution or air pollution, because we have not taken certain measures. So it could be basically and or else our processes are such diverse that we are not economically viable. Then that enterprise is not sustainable, and it will not be able to sustain for a long time. It may sustain, but it is not a sustainable development model, because it has inequalities, because it is not inclusive. It does not take care of the environment. So now, how do you make a sustainable entrepreneur? For a sustainable entrepreneur, we need to look at these 6 major aspects. I'm sure you all understand finances, advanced technology usage, or business sustainability, more planning, innovations. You would always like to, keep on being ahead of the sector so that you can keep on tweaking your products. 2 things which miss out is the social responsibilities, where, of course, a lot of people will say, oh, we do the CSR activities. But is the CSR activities contributing to the SDG? Is all the other 5 contributing to the 17 goals of SDGs? That is the question. Because even if we leave a single person behind, that country, that district, that village is not being able to, is not helping the country to achieve the sustainable development goals. The approach is inclusive, equitable, and ensuring no one is left behind. So everybody is very, very important to us. Sorry. So, what would be the benefit? Now, keeping this in mind, what do you think are the benefits for a sustainable entrepreneur? This is something which we have been, thinking through and talking to a lot of people. If we say that we are achieving certain SDG goals, we are contributing to SDG goals, our brand value increases. It's like, at about 2 decades ago, many of the brand owners started saying that we are environmental friendly. We do not use, let's say, fur. Our product is made by fox leather, which is fox leather is, it's not fox, F-O-X, F-A-U-X, so it's made of that. or somebody has started using the hem, or in the textile, somebody has used the water which is generated from the industry is treated and recycled to be used in different parts of the company compound itself. Could be, for gardening, could be for toilet usage, or could be for anything. So we are contributing, so that improves our brand value. That's one benefit if we are sustainable and entrepreneur. It is also, many of the agencies are also using it as a marketing strategy to reach, because consumers and donors have become more conscious about, what we are, where we are, how is, from where the products are coming. It's, the labor laws. When there was a whole campaign where they were saying the child labor should not be used. So if the child labor is not to be used, and the company has to take certain decisions that how it will increase their either their product price, or they will have their redesign the system in such a way that they are able to cater to the consumer needs, but also take care of the need for being an organization which does not use child labor. There are European countries, if you see their products, it's very clearly written, no child labor approved, because they have very strict laws. If they are found to be using it, they have to pay heavy fines, and it could also result in closure. And they also have some incentives. So I think the governments in many countries are looking at it also to how to incentivize agencies who are contributing to the SDGs. And long-term competitive advantages, of course, the whole certification, voluntary carbon credit is one of the certification which is very, very important. And collectively the startups could also come together to actually use it. We did a training program with GIZ, and UNDP did it for OHUB, and there were a couple of agencies who have actually come together and approaching GIZ to look at how can they take advantage of this carbon credit. Then it also helps us when we do an SDG mapping and look at the various targets and see if we are contributing. We may also identify the problem in our setup, and then we can invest in getting proper technologies, or even thinking about technologies. I'll give you just one example. One of the startups say, "Oh, you are so right that we do not have women, so many women employees." And as we did not have women employees, we really did not think about a safe work environment for our women employees. We treated her as a part of the team, but she does have a certain additional need which needs to be taken care of. So they improved that, and they moved into the ladder where they were to say, okay, we are also complying to gender equity. The improved work, because as you improve your own compliances and look at the targets and do some small changes, it's not necessary that these are very big changes. They are very, very small changes, I'll give you an example of how. In UNDP, when the whole system started, we started working on skilling. We went with the flow and we started teaching masonry. We only talked about and designing and other things. We only went in the conventional method, the building bricks and mortar and all those cements, using that. Then suddenly we realized there are so many varieties, and they have of housing structures which have stood the test of generations within their tribal areas and others. So we went back to actually study that. And one of the things which we did was, after Titli cyclone in Orissa, and the boulders and the small, big, huge stones came in, we actually utilized that to create bricks, which could be produced there itself, which was little cheaper. It was using natural resource, which is a stone, and the houses were created, which the tribals also liked it. So those are the types of things you can do. And of course, you have the sustainable products and services which you are doing. So more and people, because if you really look at it, the young generation are looking for, products which are biodegradable. Let's say, for an example, we have gone into this whole scope of reducing the paper thin, single-use plastics. Now, what is the alternatives? There are a lot of alternatives, but we still are not being able to promote it on a large scale. The reason is because we had moved out of it, and to come back to it is a long term. But people now in the shops are actually refusing to take single-use plastics. They're either bringing their own cloth bags or using biodegradable material which is available, plus synthetic material which is available. So these are things they are doing. And of course, they improves your environmental performance and reduces the risk for business. Because one of the things is, when you talk about sustainability, many enterprises, if they are IT based, then it's okay. But if you are an agricultural entrepreneur, now if there is a flood somewhere and you have not mapped that, you have not taken that into action, you may not get the products at the right price for your value added products, which means that your the cost of production may have increased, or you may have to reduce the production. So it is very, very important to understand that and look at it from this angle and see what can be done. And of course, it creates an ESG portfolio, which is environmental, social, and governance related, which has become very, very important. Now, green, I'm sure you all understand what the green entrepreneurs are, and I'm sure some of you are also green entrepreneurs. So it's an activity of developing brilliant, innovative entrepreneurial ideas that consciously addresses environmental and social problems through solutions. Unless and until you get into one of the SDGs, if I talk about no poverty, now you would say, okay, let's give food to everyone. Now the food, what it's like, the National Food Security Act, it ensures that people who have below a certain level have to have rice and maybe some dal and thing. But how much it is available? Is it nutritive enough? But it may not be. Now, there are these agencies who are creating green bags. Within that green bags, they can grow plants, nutritives like spinach and smaller leaf or other vegetables which are smaller in nature, and grow it in their own backyard or in front, which really helps, because many a times there is a space constraint also. So it basically, green entrepreneurs innovate for the environment, also contribute to the SDGs. Now, what are the steps to align an enterprise with the SDGs? What we do, you have some checkpoints. One, I'm sure you have identified your business opportunities. You wanting to improve your business value, social responsibility. So you start taking care of, write it down and see what else is there. Of course, then you have to segregate the whole SDG into your managemental people. Identify who is doing what, and give everybody some work, which would help them to contribute to the SDGs and also take the enterprise forward. Look at, map out the, the value chain areas. I'll just give you an example in the next page. Selecting success indicators for work and collecting data, finding inputs and solution that needs to be added, start activities and take action based on these inputs. Then report to it. And others, which is very, very important, is gender equity and inclusive work culture. This I have already mentioned, and it's very, very important. And business continuity plan during disaster. This is something which is very, very important. And I think the small entrepreneurs, the SMEs and the MSMEs and the startup miss out in that. The bigger entrepreneurs do have, but they don't. And there are, of course, 10 basic principles of business, which is a part of the compact. Now, when I look at the whole SDG across value chain, raw materials, if you buy the right raw material, you increase goal, you're contributing to SDG goal. Suppliers, look at suppliers who use minimum water, they ensure clean energy. So that those they reduce the impact when you're using those suppliers. We have to think about what is the best way to take it so that it will not create impact on the cities. Company operations, as we have mentioned, there are a lot of things you can easily take it and look at, these operations so that your, contribution, paperless, food consumption, electricity consumption, water consumption, environmental pollution, any type of pollution which is happening. If you look at your overall, it's like, in UNDP, we were always used to take flights for our going to different places. Now for any small 6 hours below or a little more than 12 hours, between 12 hours, we are allowed to take trains. Train is a more cleaner type of transport mobility mechanism. So we have been encouraged to take that. So that's how you can take it. Then distribution, of course, is important so that you contribute to, again, to the goal 11, which says sustainable cities. Product use, of course. End product life is very important because, recycling, upcycling, reuse is becoming very important. The whole circular economy is very, very important. When we started having mobiles, everybody used to have one mobile. Now somebody has 2 mobiles, 3 mobiles. When we change it, because every I think every year there are a lot of new ones coming in. Where do we throw it? How is it being recycled? If a company is producing something, do you have a way to recollect it and reuse it? I still remember when as a child, we used to, when we had this thumbs up in the bottles, it used to be collected by even the vendor who is selling would say ki wahi rakh do, aapka humko kal la ke de dena. So it was that thing was there. So maybe we need to think about it. 10 principles. What we need to look, all enterprises need to look, is for human rights, environment, anti-corruption, and labor. I know it's very easy to say, very easy to speak on a platform, but very many of them is difficult in the given scenario. But these are very, very important because your business is not sustainable if we do not take care of these issues. I have been thinking about, the left and right termination of people by different IT companies. How well are they looking at the human rights issue? Will they be dragged to the courts for violation of human rights? Or what did their contracting say? So I'm sure these debates will continue, and I'm sure they are going to be there. More and more discussions will be on them. Finally, this is very, very important, and slide why I took this up is because we are nearing the Women's Day. I thought it is very important to understand that the gender equity goal is not just about women. It is both about men and women, where we have to ensure equal opportunity for both qualified men and women. What happens many a times, while I may have also been an MBA graduate or I am a PhD holder, but my male counterpart may have been given preference because of the place where I have to be posted. Nobody asked me if I am comfortable to go there. They just took a decision on my behalf, and that's not equity. We need to have a safe workspace and constitute a safe committee. That's very important. Many of the organizations don't have it, and that's where they fall flat. And now many of the big organization entrepreneurs are being asked about it. Sexual harassment and gender equity committee, of course, it is need because there is a need for grievance. It is, I always say, the film Etaras has brought out, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it brought out a men's viewpoint on the sexual harassment also. So it is not just about women, but it is also about men or a transgender or a differentially abled or a single woman or a widowed woman or a man. So we really, really need these committees, which we need to say. We need to encourage, because many a times women are juggling between both household and the office, and they also take breaks. Somewhere we need to bring them again. That equity has to be brought up so that they can again work along with men. It's not as if their minds or their understanding before they became a mother is not diminished because they are mother. The only thing is their additionality is there. In the similar way, a father may want to take a paternity leave because he wants to spend time with the child. So it is very important to talk about both of them. Of course, maternity and paternity leaves, many of the organizations have done it, but we still have not reached that where everybody gives it. So I would urge, please look at it in your entrepreneurs. If you want to become sustainable, look at sustainability development goals and be called sustainable entrepreneurs. Mother and child, of course, correct centers and other things, because there are a lot of single fathers also. If you are able to have it, they will also feel very happy bringing their child there and having them nearby, rather than leaving them to, their extended family or a daycare center where then they are not comfortable with. And of course, may include breaks for mothers to feed their child, because that's something which is fundamental to a child. If you do not take care of the child today, how will they become the right citizen for tomorrow? And with these words, I will end my presentation here. This was very, very important. So please take care. I'm sure all of you have brilliant ideas. Let's look at it from the angle of a sustainable planet, which houses a sustainable community. Thank you.
Thank you, Abha ma'am. There is one question, I guess, Mr. Shivrao Chilla wants to ask.
Sure, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Shiv. I'm the founder of 3R Zero Waste.
Right.
My question is, I do, my target for this year is 3 SDG goals. I am working on a project called A World Without Waste.
Oh, wow.
Electronic waste recycling plant in Gurgaon, and I'm setting up an industrial waste also this next quarter. Mm-hmm. So in my management team, I have been, posting, I don't have a co-founder. So I want to bring a woman in my team, and I really to promote SDG 5, but I'm not able to get right candidates because this industry itself Even though when I do events, I see a lot of women participating as a sustainability, environment engineering, but I'm not able to get right candidates. Like electronic waste, there are very few companies in India, so there are lack of resources. I can understand. So what do you suggest? How do I get women to become an entrepreneur and join my company? What would be your suggestion?
So what you have said is absolutely right. There are a lot of there's lack of skilled women in certain areas. What we really require to do here specifically is identify a lady candidate who is to a certain level would be able to do your work, and train her to become join your team. You will have to take that one single step, because as you rightly mentioned, we may not have, because the STEM, it's all over the world. It has been realized that women in STEM are very few in there. And whoever has taken up are taking jobs of like research and other things. Field level based people are less. So what you will have to do as a suggestion from my side would be identify a woman who is interested in that particular field, may not be having that skill sets, mentor her and include her in your team.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Indijan Sharad, you may ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. I have one question. I am from Indigen and we are working on the food supply chain. We are just trying to decentralize the food processing industry just to decrease the carbon footprint. So my question is that mostly we are pitching to the impact investors right now. Okay. And most questions they're asking, specifically one of the question which they are asking in the average pitch, how basically you are calculating the carbon footprint, how much you are decreasing it. Okay, so you can just suggest us any ways through which we can calculate that, so that we can mention in any pitch whenever we are pitching to the impact investors on the agency.
Right. What you will have, there are carbon footprint print calculators across. There are certain online carbon footprint calculators. What you can do is start from the aggregation side, how you are bringing that product here, how you are taking it to be delivered. So you calculate what type of mechanisms you are using, and also the packaging, the packaging which you are using, because even the packaging which is being used has been produced. Now, was it sustainably produced? Was it, it's like the plastic, let's say the single-use plastic. If you're using single-use plastic, if you're having and wrappers, plastic wrappers, so they are also creating carbon footprints. So what you will have to do is identify each of your activities. From there, you will have to do the calculation on what type of carbon footprints you are calculating at each level, and then see where you can reduce it. And then when you pitch, say that this is how I have reduced my carbon footprints. So currently, this is the level of carbon footprints I am generating, but looking at for technologies where technologies that will help me reduce the carbon footprint more and more. Just an example, like I mentioned, as an organization, UNDP, when we are using airplanes for our travel left and around, we are creating, billions of carbon footprints. But the moment we start using trains, the carbon footprint of train as compared to airplane is different, and it is lesser. The day I start using a bicycle to come to my office, again I'm reducing the carbon footprint, because I'm not bringing my scooty or my car or anything to come to this. So I am contributing to that. I hope I was able to answer.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right. There is one startup from Japan also, ma'am, joining. Hiroyuki,
Yes.
maybe you can go next.
Yes, I'm from Japan, Tokyo. I have one question. As a startup founder, I respect SDGs. SDGs. My question is, sometimes I found as a staff, how can I influence to people like politicians and other companies who do not observe, who do not respect SDGs? At this moment, we are just focusing on our side, but we'd like to do more about to go on SDGs activity. What if you have some ideas or some experience? Please, I'm happy to share your experience.
You know what? I feel every single person can create an influence, and why I said this is, collectively, as you have all come together, if you are able to identify the single point where you feel that we are missing the target, we are missing contributing to the SDGs, and there is an alternative mechanism which would help us, we can go and start the advocacy. Because the politicians or the bureaucrat, administrative officers, everybody would be looking at for development, and it's a quick development because we all want quick development. But we somewhere needs to become Greta, who says stop. We need to have that. We have to have that courage and to see it, because if we keep on looking at our own growth, future growth will not be there. So the only way I can suggest is come together as a collective, create evidence on what you are talking about, and highlight it.
Okay, thank you very much. I try to do my best.
Yeah, basically that's how, like in Orissa also, I started with a small university which had about 25 startups. We started mapping their SDGs, and one or two of them used it to pitch for their, at investment forums. It caught the attention of the Orissa OHUB, and so now they are also on board, and they are also wanting to, promote it and see how we can rank our startups also against SDGs.
Thank you very much.
Right. Abha ma'am, we will take one last question and maybe then we will wrap up. Mr. Chandra, you can go next.
Hi, ma'am. We are working on 3 points that are somehow aligned to the SDG goals. One is that ours is Beggars Corporation. We are working with the beggars and making them entrepreneurs. It's not donation based. Number 2, in our workshop, all the beggars who are working in our workshop are the lady beggars. Mm-hmm. Number three, we are creating cotton bags as a replacement to plastic. So these are the 3 things which we are working on, and means it's a revenue model. It's the part of our revenue model. So is there any system of UN that these kind of startups who are working towards furthering the goals of SDG can be supported, mentored, or aligned, whatever it is? Is there any process like this?
What we can do is, we have an innovation hub. We also have an accelerator lab. And there are always a lot of challenges which come up by the UN agencies also. I think there is one challenge which is already happening, and Lemon Ideas may be able to look at it. It's called the under the Life mission, which is there of Government of India. And Youth Core Labs and UNDP are part of it. Please have a look at it. And I'm sure if you put in there, you will be able to see how that works out for you. That's one thing. The second thing is also, you could also look at, if you're working in cities, you can also go and talk to the various municipalities or where you are working, because they have a lot of funds for livelihood. And what you are doing is an excellent work. And I would also like to have your number so that I can share it with the group which is working on circular economy.
Yeah.
And if possible, they could also engage with you to, start up. Because for you, what is it requirement? If you have 30, 40 people in one new city and you make a group and you get the products,
Right.
the products can be sold somewhere. I'll just give you one example. In Jajpur town, we started with the the cloth bags with the SDG groups. And now basically the city authorities have ensured that every Mela, the SDG groups provide the bags and no plastic bags are being used there.
Right.
For last 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's how it will be. So you will also have startups have to also reach out to certain, counterparts.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I have already shared my number.
Yes,
And,
I will take it.
Thank you.
Or I'll use Saurabh to send it. I think Om is there. Om Parvez, I think one.
Just wanted to mention before we jump into the next, if anyone is looking to connect with Miss Abha, Lemon Ideas would be happy to connect. Just mail us. We will definitely love to connect you with her. Yes, Mr. Omar Parvez, please go ahead.
Yeah. So just wanted to introduce our idea. In fact, since you were talking about SDG, Jadeite has been working with different groups. In fact, my co-founder is a woman. We work with underprivileged children for leadership qualities. So we impart digital training to them. Our specific endeavor in this case was CR Bolo, where we are aligned with SDG 9, which calls about bringing resilient and sustainable infrastructure. Essentially, the idea being that we are looking at addressing digital exclusion. We talk about digital inclusion a lot, but when we have pockets of low or no connectivity, then there is a problem of digital exclusion, right? So we're providing connectivity to areas where there is hardly any connectivity. So in fact, we ran a pilot project in Odisha, in Bhadrak, where we connected a radio station with 3 SDGs and 2 schools, where we established an IVR and basic data could kind of flow through. Now, this was a proof of concept. We got a grant from ISOC. We also got recognition from IEEE, right? Essentially from establishing that, yes, areas could be connected. We could have audio, video, data transfer happening, right? So the 4 pillars that we thought of looking at was digital banking, disaster management, something like emergency services, or marketing and entrepreneurship. So those are the 4 pillars that we're trying to build under this, right? Now, when we're talking about a social enterprise, yes, we are there, but will we be judged purely on economic terms in terms of the return on investment? That's something that we were struggling at, because of course we do have a model. We are working on that. When we're looking at, let's say, we're providing emergency services, so yes, there would be some revenue, right? When we're looking at disaster management, the government can look at funding few of things. When we're looking at entrepreneurship, of course, we could use something like a revenue sharing model. But as of now, we were more of a proof of concept stage. We demonstrated that connectivity, and now we're working forward. So what would your suggestion be? Because one of the things that Deepak said was we should focus on something. Each of these 4 pillars would have different business canvas, would have different USPs. So rather than kind of trying to put everything together, build 4 canvases, build different use cases and pitch those.
What I would suggest is when it is in terms of economics, yes, we will have to pitch in a little bit of, a focused manner in different pitches. But what you could showcase is a byproduct that if we do this, then your other 3 pillars are also taken care of. Bring in that integrated model. what is SDG talking about? It says, okay, if I am having, let's say, hydropower projects, but somewhere we forgot that the heat generated through the turbines and the water which is getting heated up, if it is, again left into the rivers, is it going to impact my agriculture production? Sorry, not production. We never thought about it. Agriculture was a separate thing. So what we are here talking about, every action has an opposite reaction. So when you are talking, yes, pitching has to be there because you will find investors specific. But you have to showcase them that with this investment, these are the other things which I will also get benefit, or I will also be able to. So then it becomes a more productive space. Do not, I mean, what has been said is very right. Nobody likes too much eggs in the same basket. So economics terms, yes, we have to, but we need to be very clear from the first that we would be taking these points also into consideration.
No, in fact, it is an economic model. We are looking at that. There is an ROI, but the ROI is not, let's say 80% is monetary. The 20% creates more business opportunities. So that's something that is an important aspect because the whole thing was built around it, right? So we talk about digital India. There's a lot of happening, but 70% are villages. A lot of people face connectivity issues. What are we talking about, right? So we talk about platforms, we talk about connectivity. All that can happen with our support. So we are that basic, let's say, enabler.
Umar,
Yes.
Umar, I'd like to interrupt. We are
Sorry.
running out of time.
Yes.
And Abha ma'am also has to go somewhere. So
My apologies.
No.
So
We can take it up, bilaterally. He's in Bhadrak only.
Yes. So
Right.
Amartya, over to you.
Yes, maybe Mr. Umar, we will connect you on some other platform with Ms. Abha. Right now, we have to move forward with this session. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your time and clearing all the queries very smoothly and very precisely. I hope the startups love this session. And thanks for your time. Thanks for spending this much of time with us. And yeah, we will definitely update you if any startup wants to connect with you for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Saurav sir, for inviting me, and thank you,